can you briefly introduce about you? You can, with your location, where you're from, and what your background studies back home in India, and what you're doing now in Netherlands.
Yes. Right. First of all, thanks a lot for having me here, Murugesh. It was really nice of me to be able to do something like this. So, I'm a Bengali, but I am born and raised in Mumbai, and I studied here. I've lived here for 18 years of my life, and then I went to BITS Pilani to do my bachelor's in electrical electronics engineering, and further I did my master's in microelectronics from TU Delft. So I'm a microelectronics engineer by training, and right now I'm in between jobs. I did a year of research associateship in TU Delft itself in my lab in the Elsevier laboratory, and I just changed my job and I'm in between that.
So what is your bachelor specialization, by the
way? In electrical and electronics engineering in BITS.
Now in microelectronics.
Yeah. So now my specialization, basically what happens in Delft is we have, you get the degree is in electrical engineering, like the MSc is in electrical engineering. But in that, my track is microelectronics, within which I have specialized in semiconductor fabrication and a specific type of device that I built in my master thesis, and it's a bit different. So yeah.
Okay. Mine also kind of micro nano manufacturing side. So
right.
Into this microelectronics, I can understand now, like how it diverges and what it separates and all.
Yes. Yes, it's very interesting actually.
Yeah. How did you come across this your admission progress? Like, is it a self-funded one or any scholarship? How did you come across?
Yeah. So firstly, I was actually right when I was doing my bachelor's, I knew exactly where I wanted to go into in my master thesis, like in my master work. So I always wanted to work in the MEMS field. So I was specifically looking for universities where professors or research groups were working in MEMS, and in MEMS specifically in biomems. So that's how I basically came across this program. And then a senior of mine was also studying in TU Delft, but in aerospace. It was actually so when I went in, it was self-funded. The first year of it's a 2-year program, nominal 2-year, and then it can extend up to 4 to 5 years. So the first year was funded, and then from the second year onward, I got a scholarship from my lab itself. So you can do that once you get into the university. The second year scholarship, like your thesis work and all of that scholarship, can be directly be funded by your research lab, and you can apply for that depending on your merit scores and if you graduate with an honors and things like that. So
I think that is good to know. I could understand somewhere like some of the countries have similar structure. I have been to them about self-funding. So what about the coursework? Like, do you have so many courses in the first year, or is it minimum? How is it?
Yeah, so we basically we have about 120 credits, and the first quarter. So we have a quarter-based system in TU Delft. We had a quarter-based system in TU Delft. So it was basically 8 weeks per quarter, and at the end of 8 weeks we had an exam, and then a week's gap, and then again 8 weeks. The first quarter was mandatory courses, at least in the electrical engineering program. In some other courses, there are like a couple of other electives that you can take, specialization electives. But in electrical engineering, we had mandatory courses in the first quarter. And so there were 3 mandatory courses, and then in the next quarter, you start taking your specialization courses. And basically, the idea is to be able to finish all the courses, so 60 credits in your first year. And then in the next year, you begin your thesis already, which is you get an option of either taking it for 60 credits or taking it for 45 credits. But this was in 2015 when I went. So from the 2017 batch, they changed it. And so from now on, what is going to happen is anyone who applies now will have a 45 credits thesis only, because 60 credits is really, really tasking. Like it's a minimum year, and then it increases. You're also an MS in research, so I guess you understand it becomes really difficult. Like just focus on.
That's what I was wondering. Like we do have like a minimum coursework for MS people, unlike MTech people. That difference. It's like a course based and thesis based in other countries curriculum. So it is a little puzzling. How can you manage that many courses? So it is total 2 years course, right?
Yeah, the nominal period is 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll do 1 year research and 1 year courses. Now you're saying it will be full of, I mean, most of research.
You got cut there. I lost your voice for a second.
So you are saying like
Hi.
the research. So research is increasing, so the course base is reduced. Is it like that?
No, not really. So initially, in the batch that I had gone for, the first year is mandatory courses. Like it is easier if you do mandatory. If you all finish all your courses in the first year, which is 60 credits, and then you start your 60 credit thesis afterwards. Of course, that's not always possible because because of several different problems. So you can always space it out depending upon the way you want. So a lot of people, what they do is they try to finish as many of the courses that they really need to begin their thesis. So to begin your thesis, you need a minimum of 48 credits if it's a 60 credit thesis, and if it's a 45 credit thesis, then you need minimum 72 credits to begin your thesis.
Yeah.
So most people try to finish the minimum number of credits that are required to begin your thesis, and then while they do their thesis, they take free electives, humanities, marketing, whatever you want. So there's always a chance like that, but it gets tough to do something like that. I'm sorry, we're breaking up. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now
voice, is it clear? My voice?
Actually? Now it's clear. Yeah.
Okay. I just.
Oh, it broke up again.
Broke up. I think I should speak louder. Now is it fine?
No. What happens is it like all of a sudden sort of like goes into mute and then it starts again. It's something like that.
Okay. I think that is 1 minute. I'll just.
You can hear me properly, is it?
I think this is because of the voltage fluctuations. I am just connected multiple devices together. Let me remove one of them. I think that.
Yeah.
So what is this like? Sometimes I wonder how these circuits are connected. This is so the discharge will overflow in one direction and then it will not overflow in other direction.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Like a valve system, but.
This light has some more voltage discharge probably.
Yeah.
It's separated out for the mic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We are discussing. This is fine. The course program and the funding and all, it is good. You have explained nicely. So further, we'll try to know the process of application because you have said like self-funded. I'm speaking to some of these regular scholarship programs recently. I'm talking to people. So there is that many people they try for scholarships, and though let it be, some people are not too much serious. So for those people, I'm not saying anything. It's up to their decision. But some people are really interested, and even though they didn't get scholarship, they wanted to go and explore abroad. For those kind of people, like it will be much helpful if you say like how this application. How did you enroll in the university? What is the difficulties you have faced in your application process?
Sure. So okay. So there are actually the enrollment cycle goes on until April of the year, whichever year you're going to enroll for, but the scholarship applications end in December. So there's only one scholarship application round, and 2 people per faculty get the faculty scholarships. So it's quite prestigious, and the procedure is exactly the same. You have just like any other university. We had to. So in Europe, GRE is not mandatory, but in my year, GRE wasn't mandatory in 2015. But from 2016 onwards, they have made GRE also mandatory. So now GRE will be compulsory for everyone, and you have to submit 2 recommendation letters. You can get it from your academics, like professor, or if you work, you can get it from your boss, your supervisor, your manager, whoever you want. But also, it's not like the normal recommendation letter system that usually like you apply and you give in the email address of your professor or your manager, and then they get an email to upload a letter. It's not like that. It's a hard copy letter that you print. You have to sign and get it stamped from your professor or whoever your referee basically, and then you scan it, and you have to upload these copies onto the portal that they have. For the scholarship, it's also exactly the process, of course, with a statement of purpose as well, that you always have to write. And but in addition to this, you have to also submit an additional prose, which you have to mention why you want to do the scholarship, why you think that you are eligible for the scholarship. And it is of course helpful if you have you are in the top 2% or 5% of your batch within that time frame, in that semester. So at least in that semester. So that really helps. It is a bit difficult to just get a scholarship when you're entering, but I will say another thing, that in the Netherlands there are different scholarships as well. So the one that I just spoke of, that is the faculty scholarship, which is given by the TU Delft. There's another kind of scholarship called the Nuffic Nesso scholarship, which is Nuffic Nesso is basically the sort of the education. It's a department of the Ministry of Education of the Netherlands, which is basically responsible for bringing in international students from different countries, and they also have an office in Mumbai. So Nuffic Nesso has a different set of scholarships altogether, which you can go to their website and you can check it. What are the requirements aren't very different, but they have a little bit higher number of higher intake basically for the scholarship recipients. I think it's about 4 or 5 per country, as far as I think something like that. You have to go and check. And other than that, if you just want a other than that, you can always get a scholarship when you are studying in your second year or whichever year you are in, after you get in via your professor or your research group or whatever. That is up to the discretion of the professor. And if you get into an honors program, which also you can't just get into an honors program from the when you apply initially to go to the university. This is something that comes afterwards. So once you start studying after your first semester, depending on your grades, you can enter into an honors program. For that, you have to do 20 credits extra. So in total, 140 credits in 2 years, and you have to have a specific amount of grade threshold and everything. And for that also you can get a scholarship. That was about that.
Many times, when the applicants are saying about opportunities, they'll miss to verify that the possibility of local funding details actually. So it's we can't get in the website when we are searching from some other country. When we get into university, existing university, or if you go for some intern, that time even I have come across that is these kind of things are there. That is good to now people whoever is watching, they can consider it. That's very nice. And what about this application fee? Is it there for masters or PhD in your university information?
Yes, there is an application fee. It is 25 euros, I think, for the masters. For the PhD application, so I actually did 1 year of research associateship, which was it was actually a PhD program, which I did not finish. I did only a year of research associateship because I got another opportunity. Since I entered directly from my masters, there was no fee. But for outside international candidates, I am not exactly sure. There is no option for an integrated PhD in TU Delft. You have to do a master's, and then only people with an existing master's degree can apply for a PhD. So I'm not sure exactly how much the cost is, though. So sorry about that.
That is okay. Some relative. Why I'm asking this question is I'm highlighting some institutes where the application process is very simple. Example I have explained recently, and you can the application process is very supportive for the scholars who are aspiring. So institutes, if you apply for one institute, some other institutes also will be considered your application. So
right. Yeah.
Giving a clarity so that whoever is willing, they can verify this also. To consider as per the situations. So this is something about the fun part of the education. So what about the social life and your time for engaging with other people and?
So there's as I mean, basically in Europe, there's a lot of chance for like a social life and everything. I will say the first year it's a bit difficult because you will be. I mean, it was my experience. I was quite overwhelmed with the amount of courses in the first year because of the quarter system. It's really exhausting. I mean, you're always giving exams and you're always finishing homework and assignments. So the first year it's a little hard. Second year, when you start your thesis and all, you can always get into doing several different activities. There are associations, there are study associations. I was the general secretary of the International Student Council of the TU Delft. So it's a 1 year position, and you get to organize all kinds of activities for international students. You get to meet the executive board of the TU Delft, which is basically the apex body of the TU Delft. The director magnificus, the promoter, the directors, basically, which we call in India. Over there, they call it director magnificus, the chancellors. So you get to have a discussion with them. You get to tell them what problems the international students are facing, or whether they want an activity or they want like a festival or something to be held. So that was quite fun, and we arranged a lot of different activities. I remember we had our first. So I was a general secretary, and the rest of the people in my board were all Europeans. So they had no idea of like what Holi was, and I mean they knew that it's a festival of colors, but they had never celebrated it. So I wanted to have this big dinner celebration because I mean it's a bit difficult to play. It's very surprising, but it's a bit difficult to play Holi there in March because it's very, very, very cold. So nobody's outside, so nobody wants to play. So we never have the Holi celebrations in March. The Holi celebrations are always in May, and the same thing is for Diwali. It's always 1.5 months after. And we had like things like that we organized together. And there are lots of sporting activities that you can do. There are different sports associations that you can join. There's also study associations of just your program. So the electrical engineering program had a study association, things like that. There's a lot of social life aspects that you can do, but I would suggest you to always do that in the second year, because the first year is harder to manage.
Yeah, I think even like another example which is so solid actually, those people who are just in dilemma to go abroad and do and all. So I'm always encouraging after my internship experience for a few months in abroad in Japan. So it is like studying abroad. It's not just for academics alone, and when you get exposed to these kind of events with the fellow members, it is a very vast learning, I could say. And also the treatment you get from fellow members, or you treat your fellow members like every time there is some festival or some celebration. You may or may not celebrate in your home country sometimes, but if you go abroad, this will be there for sure.
That's true.
Home away from home, that is, it will be there in always in academic field for higher studies. So that is in fact, my welcoming for the internship also, it happened with one of this cultural event from the Indian Association, locally there. So they welcomed with a dinner. That is for some other purpose, but they invited all together. Like that's the advantage if you go some other country, any place. That's very good to know that situation in Netherlands also. It is very nice. Even there was an example I would like to quote. Like one of my friend in Japan, when I was there in Japan, I went for camping. So we had casual chit chats with the friends. So she was studying in another country in Europe. The other friend, she's a Japanese, so she's studying in Europe. So we asked like, what is like just for curiosity, what makes you to go abroad and study there? So what is your interest at all? She simply said like, I want to explore and experience other culture in some different country. Likewise, there are some more people I heard. But back then when I was there, that time I didn't have so much of ambitious or whatever I have to go abroad and experience. I didn't know this, so I don't know. But after experiencing these feedbacks and all, even I experienced a couple of campaigns, and now you are saying again. So it is always recommended if you have a least thought, 1% thought of going abroad, explore it, try for it till you get, or else at least the exploring process. Yeah, that is another point I'll be telling at the end of this talk. I'm talking to him also. So the exploring process have the big advantage we'll be sharing at the end of the talk, or maybe in different video. Catch up on that. We'll move on further in this topic for now. Yeah, social life is pretty much available. There is no doubt in that.
Absolutely, I agree. You have to always explore like where you go. I mean, you've traveled this far away from home, you might as well look at what's happening around.
True, true. So, how about this financial support? Like some people will think like will manage the self-funded or will manage the part-time jobs. So, what about the availability of part-time jobs? And is it possible to support sustain your life there?
Part-time jobs are available. The thing is, it is a little bit more expensive than the Asian part of the world,
Okay.
especially in terms of rent. So rent is so basically, I think even if you do a part-time job, so if you do an internship or something, you would be making around, let's say, 700, 800 euros, at the most about 1,000 euros, out of which for your rent you'll be paying 300 to 500 at least. So it'll take at least around 40 to 50% of your part-time salary or part-time fee, whatever you get. um, it is sustainable because the most of amount of money that you usually spend is for rent, and then of course there's no dorm system or anything, so you decide how your lifestyle is. You decide what you eat, you decide what you cook, you decide how you stay, you decide how grand you want your lifestyle to be. So it is part-time jobs are also available. It's I If you want to do a part-time job, so most of the part-time jobs that people do are usually within the university, or sometimes like in some companies or something. But the thing is, since Delft is a very small city, but it's a university city, so it's a very international city. There are a lot of people from all around the world and everything. But it's also a city which has a large. It's very close to The Hague, which is one of the biggest metropolitan cities of the Netherlands, and Rotterdam, both. So there are a lot of old people who live there. So in that context, if you go to do a part-time job, like let's say in a restaurant or a cafe, which is very common there, it is better if you learn Dutch a little bit, at least like A1 level Dutch, which is not hard. Like honestly, it's not very hard. But like what I personally feel is, if you go to a country which does not speak English, it's also a little bit respectful if you learn their language, and it's
Exactly.
not right. It's not very difficult, but I mean it is difficult. I won't say it's not very difficult, but you can at least learn the basics. So it is sustainable though. It's nice, but your rent will take up a big chunk of your money. That is one thing for sure.
Yeah, I think this language topic I'm recommending for the aspiring bachelor students or even before bachelors, pre-bachelor students. Uh, I don't know about everyone, but to my circle and to my friend circle, we hardly know the importance of learning foreign language. So we consider learning one or two languages that will be helping, like this case, like if you know some language that will be very much helpful. Like this is one case. There are many other examples we'll be sharing about the importance of language also. That is really true. I reviewed with a couple of friends. Even the learning, also, there is different techniques. If you really enjoy this process of learning, so there is different techniques for foreign languages. But I think that is out of context for now. Yeah, the financial support. I think. By the way, if you get a scholarship from faculty, what you have mentioned. So, what about the possibility of savings some sort of money out of the scholarship?
Yeah, so what exactly happens is, when you get a faculty scholarship, so okay, I'll talk about the fees, in the sense, the fee structure of TU Delft, so it's easier for you to understand. Now the fees have doubled, by the way. So when I went in 2015, it was 13,000 euros a year, which was 26,000 for 2 years. Now it has become 26,000 for 1 year. So the fee has actually doubled. So what usually happens is, the European students, they pay 100 euros per month. The fee for them is 100 euros per month. For us, the fee was 1,000 euros per month. So when you get a scholarship, basically what happens is the university pays for your tuition fees. They pay your entire tuition fee, but of course, if you're doing so if you're working in a research lab like I was, the scholarship that I got specifically was, they were paying for my tuition fees, which was instead of 1,000, they bring it to the European rate instead of the international rate. So they pay 100 euros, and that is the scholarship sort of. They make it at the European rate, and they paid for it. And apart from that, I was getting about 300, 400 euros as sort of remuneration for working in the lab. And also, I forgot to mention one thing. In TU Delft, if you work in any student associations, you also get money for that. And and another thing which is very interesting, which I don't know if it's there in any other university, but it's there in TU Delft. So as soon as you work for an association which is officially registered under the TU Delft. Of course, the International Student Council is the biggest association which is registered under the TU Delft. So if you're one of the board members, one of the 5 board members, and if you're in any other study association or anything, first of all, you get money for being a board member and working for the association. Secondly, you also get to extend your studies. So you get to extend your studies by, so we have this concept called RAS. RAS is a Dutch word. I don't know the full form of it yet, but it's RAS, and they calculate how much time you spend in the study association or whichever association you're working for, how many hours you spend, and how that would have translated into your credits. So they see how many months you would have lost for your studies if you work for that, because you are actually expected to put in the same amount of work for your association as well. So for that, like usually for like a year's work in the International Student Association, I got 4 months, which was paid by the university. So in addition to the scholarship, I got 4 more months. So that is very unique, which is I don't know about any other university or any other country if they do that, but it's there in TU Delft.
That's really nice. I heard about the benefits of working for international teams, but I didn't know this concept. I think I'm hearing for the first time.
Yeah, it was very new to me too.
Now people who, if they know beforehand, they could plan accordingly, and people who are active in extracurricular activities, you need not to get any negative comment about yourself. You can in these kind of places very well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the next topic is like similar to the fun part, but with the professors and fellow scholars. How was the interaction time, and what about the availability of the professor or your fellow members when you are doing research or coursework? How was it?
In my group, of course, it varies from group to group. There are several different groups in any university. The professors, I'll just divide it into 2 parts, of course, the professors and then your fellow colleagues. With the professors, it's a little tricky to always get them to meet you. So, because they're very busy. So, honestly, it's like teaching is sort of like a part-time thing for them. They are more into the research and they're always traveling here and there for conferences. So, it's a little difficult to get hold of your professor. What I would suggest is get into a discussion with the professor and everything even before you enroll in the university, which is what I did. So I was already, because I knew which group I wanted to go into. So if you do a little bit of your own research, they know that somebody's going to come in this year in this cohort who already wants to work here. So it's a very good impression. So they will also try to make it at a point to like meet you as much as possible, because they also want to sort of recruit you in their group. So that I think makes a difference. It's sort of like a first impression is the last impression kind of a thing. With your colleagues, it was excellent. Like you can always. I'm very grateful to my supervisor actually, my mentor. So everyone who does their work in a research group, you're assigned a mentor, who is usually a PhD student or a postdoctoral candidate. And I'm very thankful, I'm very grateful. He is amazing at what he does, and he was always there helping me, very patient. All my colleagues were also very good. There is usually no problem in that, because the research also helps the group a lot, and they know that you're new, so they will, in every group, they will always help you. But there's always like a little bit of independent driven structure, so they also prefer that you also have your own ideas and you come up with it is much better if you come up with your own idea of a thesis project instead of them suggesting a thesis project to you. So that really helps. But with the professors, it's a little harder than with any kind of colleague, be it a postdoctoral candidate, be it being a technician in the lab, be it an engineer or a PhD or just your fellow student. It was very, very good, so no complaints there.
That is good to hear. Actually, that is one of the best thing which is required for all the scholars. You have to interact with the professor and fellow colleagues. That is very important. That's very good. Yes. And I think you have enjoyed that atmosphere, right? You have completed almost, right?
Yeah, I have finished. I have already graduated. I did a year of research work and then I left. So
yeah. So coming to the completion part, like what about this job perspectives? Like, are there any sort of, like in India, you have seen that job placements and
yes.
placements and all. So what are like what was the placement scenario like? Is there any third party companies will come and hire, or how it goes, the selection process?
Yeah. So there is no placement per se, but there is a career fair that we have, which is organized by the university every February, annually every February, and it's for 3 days. It's called the Delfts, and people go. So there are a lot of companies which come for that, but they essentially come to recruit anyone. They will have their own stalls there, and then you're supposed to go there, talk to them, tell them your profile, whatever, carry your resume with you, and if they like you, they'll be like, okay, then this is the link, you can go and apply there. So there is no placement per se that happens in TU Delft. You essentially, what we always do is the career fairs are good, but they are not. If you are just relying on a career fair for your jobs, that is not recommended. So what people usually do is maybe a month before graduating, if you want to like not have a gap and just begin immediately, then a month or 2 months before graduating you start looking for your jobs, and anything. It's a little hard because TU Delft is very okay. One thing as well that goes in with this, the completion factor. In TU Delft there is no convocation, so everybody doesn't graduate together. Everybody graduates individually. So when you submit your diploma, I guess it's the same like in MS by research and in the IITs. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems something like that, right? So it's like that. So unless they are satisfied with your work, you cannot graduate. So it's that's why it becomes a little hard. And there's no convocation ceremony, nothing. On the day you defend your thesis, after those 2 hours of grilling and like a lot of work, after that you get your degree in your hand. That's it. So because of that, because it's so strenuous, the thesis experience where you really have to work, but the work that you do is very fulfilling. So after you finish that, a lot of people choose to look for jobs after they graduate because you get a 1-year search visa in the Netherlands. Okay. So you can live there for 1 year, and if you find a job within that 1 year, you can also work with that visa. So it's a search visa and a work visa. So usually, and looking, it's like a normal online. You have to look for jobs like online and stuff, and don't just rely on that career fair. There are also other career fairs that are held by, let's say, the Korean embassy. The Korean embassy will have a huge Korean companies career fair, not in Delft, but like in a neighboring city like Rotterdam or The Hague, and everyone is free to go there. But always suggested to start looking for jobs, start applying for jobs online and follow the grind rather than just relying on the campus fair.
Yeah, I think that is good to know the people who are going there. Like some people go for job prospectus and to work there. For those people, it's very good to know. But now the topic what we are going to speak, it may be shared in different video. Please, if you complete watching this video, please join in the other video. We'll be talking on we'll be talking on a different topic now. This is continuation with this job prospectus, but very interesting. Please check out that one. Okay, coming to the next continuation topic for the context. So I'm asking see, now you have said we need to connect with us, surfing to the websites and finding the relevant jobs or whatever the company details and all. So I'm taking this analogy the way you approach for your master's or PhD abroad, and the way you have to apply for jobs. I feel there is a similarity. What do you say?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more, because this is something that I've been telling so many people over the last 1 or 2 years, that it's the same thing. Like, you just have to do the exact same thing. The uncertainty is the same. Everything is the same. But
yeah. I agree. So I'm like encouraging this point of view in the application time itself, because like the efforts, I'm saying many people please understand the process. Don't just ask somebody what to do, how to apply, and don't ask somebody. Please try to spend some time to understand the application process when you try for abroad studies. Again, the same process you can use it for job search. So
exactly.
You may need to have cover letter, you may need to have a CV, or again you need to find the company details. It is similar to find a faculty of your research interest and find a research lab. Try to convince the relevance with you with a technical explanation. And again, cover letter, which is similar to research proposal I'm comparing.
Yes.
So it is like almost like you are preparing to work in a different country, not just for studying. You are preparing for working also in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the what you've said is just so much on point. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I'd like to add a comment again, saying like, see, one thing. Let's say some person is trying for somewhere studying abroad, like any other country. So they have studied, and again they went for some selection and they couldn't get till the final. But the process, they can even from their home country, they can still apply for jobs.
Yes.
Even for higher studies, you can still apply for jobs even with the same experience, the same efforts you can put. Now you learned the process. You apply for jobs also.
Yes.
So likewise, I think your off-campus happened the same way, right?
Yeah. I also, like I just said, we don't have anything like campus placement, so everything is
Yeah.
basically off campus.
So
So yeah,
find
you
the
look for jobs wherever you want or wherever you would like to go.
true. So find the company and prepare the documents and find yeah, almost is similar. And yeah, I think this is just a comparison. I have already spoken about in detail. That will be preceded in this video. By this time, it is the video, so that is fine. So coming to the another question about this TU Delft. So any other learnings or lessons you wanted to share with the aspiring people, like where you find okay, I would have done this thing, but this is not happened like that.
Yes. One thing that I would like to uh, share is a lot of people. It's very normal for like because we come from a very competitive culture. Society
Yeah.
is very competitive in India and everything. What we as graduates always do is as soon as we finish our undergrad, we're always trying to look for the best universities in terms of ranking to go into, and people don't usually focus. I mean, this is what I have noticed. This might necessarily not be everyone's case, but a lot of my
Yeah.
friends, even me myself personally, initially I was very much like, okay, if I want to go abroad, I really have to make sure that I get the highest score in my GRE. Of course, I mean, you have to do well in your bachelor's, like that is a prerequisite, but like I have to
Yeah.
get the highest score. And then if it doesn't matter which course I go to. A lot of people do that. It doesn't matter, I just want to go to this university, and then they apply only for the highest like things at the any course in in the best university. And sometimes you get it and you go, you do it, but you don't like it. So one thing which is very important to understand is that your master's is basically a stepping stone into your working life. And just like your bachelor's is a stepping stone into your working life. So it's very important for you to like what you do. So you should make sure that you look into the research and the work that your university people are doing. Not so, I mean, ranking is important, but it's not really the most important thing. The research is, in my opinion, the most important thing. So they might not be like, there might be some university which is not like at the highest rung in I don't know, like let's say Harvard or something. Engineering is not very famous there, but Harvard School of Law is so good. But if you go there for engineering, it's not that good. Like in TU Delft as well, like computer science is not very renowned, but it is TU Delft is world number 2 in architecture, world number 3 in civil, world number 11 in electrical. So this is fine, but if you go there for computer science, it's not really in the picture. But you should just look at the research. If the research is good, then you should go for that. And that is one thing that I was like a little bit not sure about initially. I was looking at all of these rankings and stuff, but then I looked at the research and it really helps, because then you will be working on your thesis, and your thesis, whatever you do for your thesis, is something that the companies will ask if you don't have any experience. And if you're a fresh grad, they're going to look at your thesis work. So make sure you look at the university and the work that they are doing, and if it aligns with you. And another thing is, you might go into the university thinking that I want to work in a specific line. That can sometimes change, especially if you're fresh grads without any experience. You might go in thinking like I went in thinking I wanted to work in biomems. That was my idea. I was always fascinated with biomems. I had worked on it in my bachelor's. I went in, and then I sort of changed and I diverted, and I started really enjoying this organ on a chip technology, and eventually I graduated in semiconductor fabrication with organ on chip technology, which is completely different from what I wanted to go in when I initially went in. So don't have a very open mind
Yeah.
when you go into this thing.
Yeah, I think that is a very crucial point what you have just mentioned. So I always emphasize this concept actually. Please be open to learning things actually, and learning to enjoy the process. so that you will accept the things very well, and you will end up in somewhere where you will not even expected your what we call the results. That will be very well what we call is essential, I can say.
Yeah.
So I think this topic of this discussion, what I have thought, it is completed. So if you wanted to share your Facebook or Instagram, which one is the best one? Like either which media is best for you? Say that one, so I'll put on the screen.
Sure, you can always contact me on Twitter, actually, because Facebook and Instagram I usually use it for like very personal reasons. But I have a Twitter which I use for things like this. So you can always contact me on Twitter. Yeah, it's RAJS2403.
RAJS 2403.